What's up everyone, regular old dude here ready to tackle a new song. Today's song comes from a band that was formed in 2007 in Woodhaven, Queens, New York City. On the band's Bandcamp page, they describe themselves as black metal or not. Quick bit of business, if this is your first time watching the channel, I listen to the song here with you for the first time and stop it along the way and give my impressions of what I'm hearing and what thoughts are going through my head at that time. Then I turn the camera off. I listen to the song 5 additional times, each time trying to listen to different aspects of the song. Then I cut the camera back on, and then we'll go through the song again. And now that I have these additional listens, I'll talk about it more in depth of what I've noticed along the way. If you didn't gather it from the title, today's band is Krallice. And I had a hard time picking a song because they have 11 albums or EPs on their Bandcamp page. And when I went to see what they had on Spotify, there was a limited selection of those albums, but all the ones that were on Spotify pretty much have similar numbers of listens. So there was nothing that really leaped out as something I should listen to. I went to their Bandcamp page, I went to Wikipedia, read a little bit about the band, and decided to do something from their 2015 album Yig Her, or Ig Her. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, that's why I put it down below. And when picking a song from that album, there are 6 to choose from, all pretty much the same in length except for the very first one, which is a little bit shorter, which might be some kind of intro, and I didn't want to do that for the song. So I just went over it and I picked Tyranny of Thought because the name sounded cool. And with a discography this deep, it's probably difficult for me to really narrow it down to anything other than something that sounds interesting to me. So I just said, fuck it, let's go with Tyranny of Thought. So let's get into it here. I'll back up just a tiny bit because I was stopping it there because the site that I had the lyrics up on has it broken into like 5 different sections, and that was the end of the first section on here. I'm enjoying the very raw sound of the instruments here. The vocals are really buried in the mix in the background. Difficult to hear even with the headphones. I'm sure that's intentional. I don't think they accidentally buried them back there. But let's talk about what they're saying. We have, there remains no monuments to our vanity, no cenotaphs. I don't know what that word means. Got to look that up. I was saying it wrong. It's cenotaph. A monument to someone buried elsewhere, especially one commemorating people who died in a war. All right. There remains no monuments to our vanity, no cenotaphs to subsumed glory, buried by the weight of years. Whew, okay. That's going to take me some time to figure out. I am not the sharpest knife in the drawer, so it's going to take me a little while to figure out what they're saying there. And I'm not sure what subsumed means, so let's check that out too. Subsume means to include or absorb something into something else. I'm already excited about having to re-listen to this because of the complexity of what they're doing with their lyrics here. Not just using words that I'm not familiar with, but the structure of it seems to be almost like a poetry. Very, very interesting, very deep. Let me back it up a couple of seconds so we can get back to the beginning of this next lyrical verse. There is a shit ton going on here, and it's extremely interesting. By focusing in a little bit more, I was able to really hear the bass line in the background, and the tone or the sound of that drum kit is super fucking interesting. These really crisp tones coming from it, really sharp. The guitars are just this like wall of sound, but there's this rumbling in the background from the bass. So it's really fucking interesting. And I'm gonna try and not say really a whole bunch of times like I do in my other videos. So I'm gonna consciously try and dial the really knob back from 11 down to like a 1. Lyrically, we fashioned fate from the tyranny of thought and the failure of noble intent. And then again, he screams the failure of noble intent. Okay. We fashion fate from the tyranny of thought. So the tyranny of thought, which is the title of the song, means this just overwhelming idea that is permeating through the consciousness maybe. The failure of noble intent, which means there was no good maybe initially at all with the intention of this tyranny of thought. Again, just shooting from the hip. Don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but that's okay. Let's get back into the song and try and listen to the instrumentation a little bit closer. Again, I'll do that when I do my additional listens, but we're not even halfway through yet for a very intricate song that it seems on the surface like it's a bunch of noise, but there's a shit ton going on here, and it's extremely interesting. And seeing that they have such a large catalog too leads me to believe that they know what the fuck they're doing here. And I have a ton of stuff that I'll be able to dive into later because of my interest in what I'm hearing already. Back it up a little bit, but we had another group of the lyrics go by there, and this is this is an intense song. A lot of energy going on here. Fucking crazy how much just raw energy is coming from it. And the great river of our blood roars in protest. Tributaries swallowed by the grim god of silence. The god of silence. Lyrically, it's fascinating and super excited to dive into this. It's going to be a pleasure to fucking dissect what's going on here and listen to all the things that are going on with the instruments. Let's bump it back a little bit before we get into this section. It seems like it's changing a little bit here. Another group of lyrics went by, and I can't emphasize enough how deep and complex what I'm hearing, at least initially, in these headphones. I'm excited to dive into this further. fucking really feeling this song a lot right now. And we have relentlessly we wove the skeins or skeins, heedless of our doom, lashing to our lives the promise of failure. Is a song about a thought process or the way people are thinking? They're talking about relentlessly we wove the skeins, if I'm saying that right, heedless of our doom, lashing to our lives, so we're tying ourselves to this idea, the promise of failure. Whew, all right. This is going to take some serious interpretation, but that's why I'm doing this, because I want to talk about the art behind this music and not just people saying it's just a bunch of fucking noise. So we have crossed the threshold of the halfway point, just the halfway point, and on the site I'm looking at, that's about it for the lyrics. There's only a couple verses left. So if I start to hear more beyond that, I'll have to pause it and see if I find another site with the lyrics, unless there's a lot of instrumentation here in the latter half of the song. So I guess the lyrics are correct, because we only had a couple of lines there, and there's still a couple more lines on what I'm looking at. The drumming and the guitars, I don't even know how to say it. There's such a great feeling coming from the song. I really, it's extremely intense. It's very, very impactful. I mean, it hits you super fucking hard. The lyrics that did go by are, and I will build within myself a monument of flagellation. Whew, now that is some deep shit there. Building inside yourself a monument of self-torture in order to praise your deity or praise the idea or suffer because you feel like you should suffer. Wow. Let's finish this song out. We have about 1:40 left, so I might pause it one more time if the next set of lyrics comes pretty quick. Sorry, I'll back it up a little bit because we have less than a minute to go, and I'll let it ride the rest of the way out there. It's hard to describe the movement you can hear with the guitars, the way the tone of it is almost like a wave ebbing and flowing throughout the song with that frantically fierce drumming, the power that the drums are being hit with. It just feels super intense, extremely impactful. fuck, this song is pretty fucking deep. And just this wall of sound. It's not just noise. And I've probably already said it several times that there's a bunch of interesting things going on in the background within the song. Lots of movement. Enough of me. Let's finish it out. Almost get chills listening to that song. The last bit of the lyrics, I will silence my tongue and sacrifice myself to the empty vault of the firmament. And at the end, when he said firmament, you could hear the guitars and the drums just hit every syllable there. Meaningful, I'm sure, the way that ended. And there was something that was screamed at the end there, and I couldn't make it out because it's not on my lyrics list. And I'll see if I can find something that lets me know what that last little bit was. It's time to dive in. Excited to listen to this 5 more times and try and pick some things out that are interesting and break down the deep lyricism and the symbology that's here. All right. Got 5 more times with an almost 7-minute song, so I'll be back in about an hour, and we'll go over Tyranny of Thought a little more in depth. See you in a second. I'm back, ready to dive into this song again. I listened to it 5 more times, really focusing in on guitars, then focusing in on bass, listening to the drums, and a lot of time in interpreting the lyrics. And since I'm not the smartest person out there, I had to look a lot of the words up and think about what they were trying to say here and come up with my interpretation of what the song is about, or at least what the lyrics are trying to convey. So if it comes across as unintelligent or maybe just me randomly saying things that are coming to mind, that's probably correct because I can be full of shit sometimes. So I'm going to give it my best shot and tell you what I think about the lyrics for the song. Before we start, I want to remind you to send me your suggestions in the comments below so I can add bands that you think are interesting, really good, crazy that you don't understand. I don't care. Again, genre doesn't matter. Length of song doesn't matter completely. But if I get above 10 minutes, it takes a long time to produce that video. I might put those off to the side or pick a different song from the band if you give me a long song. I know that there are some bands out there that produce full albums that are just one track that are over an hour long. And for me to do something like that would have to be a very special occasion because we're talking about a full day of me listening to it over and over again. So not that I won't ever do that, but it would have to be something special along the way that would get me to take the time to do that, because I could do 2 or 3 other songs in the time of that, and I want to push out as much content as possible. Because my focus is to get these bands to people, let people experience the art, and maybe make them some new fans or maybe a couple of bucks. Either way, I accomplish my goal if I can at least get people to listen to it and experience it. I have lots of notes here to talk about during the song, so I'm probably going to stop it quite a bit, and after each lyrical section I'm going to stop it to talk about that. So if you get frustrated because I keep stopping it, there'll be links in the description below that'll let you go to Spotify or Bandcamp and listen to the song all the way through without me interrupting. And you can also go there and purchase items from the band, whether it's their music or their merch or anything along the way. Try and support the bands out there. Buy the music, buy the shirts. Just do what you can to support the artists that you really, really love. Enough of me just fucking talking a whole bunch. Let's get into the song. And the first thing I have on my notes is this guitar, the way it comes in, this real crunchy noise at the beginning, which we don't hear a lot of later on in the song. It's a lot of tremolo picking, I think is the correct term for the type of guitar playing. But in the intro here, in this first like 30 to 45 seconds, we're going to hear this fuzzed, crunchy guitar come in, and then it's going to transfer into like these individual notes, and then the tremolo picking. This happens a couple of times, and you get these soaring guitars and this just increased tension right at the beginning. It's fucking amazing the way it sounds. I don't have any other way to say it, but let's just listen to it and not listen to me talk nonstop. We already had our first group of lyrics go by there, so let's talk about those. Also, I forgot to mention the really crisp sound on that drum. I think that's the snare. I don't know anything about drums other than the things I get told by my wife's youngest, who started drumming about a year ago and is in lessons. So if I say something incorrectly, if I name the instrument improperly, tell me in the comments below. I have no problem with you saying, hey, dumbass, this is what it's called. Go ahead and do that. Our first group of lyrics here are, there remains no monument to our vanity. Vanity being excessive pride in your achievement. So there's nothing that remains of the pride that we had for the stuff that we achieved in the past. It says no cenotaphs to subsumed glory. I had to look all that up. A cenotaph is a memorial for somebody that is dead, but their body is somewhere else. And subsumed is to take in. So there are no more memorials to the glory that we received in the past, because this last line, buried by the weight of years. So there are no more monuments. We are not remembering the glory of our past. There's nothing there to remind us because it is buried by the weight of years. So I'm thinking that it is the passage of time. You often hear that people that don't study history are doomed to repeat it. So maybe that's what it means, is the weight of the years. It's so long ago that there's no monuments left. No one's even thinking about it, or no one cares anymore. At least that's what I'm getting. Again, tell me what you think in the comments below. We're into our second group of lyrics here, and we're also coming up on several things that I want to talk about in the instrumentation. So after I talk about these lyrics, we'll talk about that too. We fashioned fate from the tyranny of thought. So fate would be something that is just going to happen. You don't have a choice. Tyranny is an unrestrained and excessive use of power. So by saying we fashioned fate, so fate again is something that normally you don't have a choice, it just happens, but they're saying we fashioned it. So we created our fate, a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts, from the tyranny of thought. So we have this unrestrained, unfiltered thought Kind of sounds like the fucking shit you see on social media all the time. So we fashioned our fate, we created destiny because of all this unrestricted thought and the failure of noble intent. Noble is like good moral and mental character. So by saying there's a failure of this good moral or good intent in general, that's why we have this destiny that we're hurtling towards, because we just are spewing out a bunch of bullshit nonstop without any kind of restraint. And by doing so, we are not going towards our fate, we are creating a fate that we're going towards. With that said, let me talk about the next couple of parts that we're going to listen to the instruments more in depth here. What I'd like you to listen to is coming up in about 10 to 12 seconds. Listen to how the guitar and the drums follow each other. The drums really follow, the guitar changes, and it is extremely moving the way that it follows along with the guitars. Also, there's a really fucking awesome transition at the 1 minute 57 mark in the song, and right before it comes up, I'll just hold up my hand so you know that's the part that's going to come up just a second or two after that, so you can really focus in on it. And then after that transition, about 10 seconds later, you can hear the bass in the background, how it's really accompanying the movement of the song. If you really focus in, you can hear it. And this is my plug for, if you can afford it, get good headphones, because you can really hear a lot in this music. And then after we listen to all that, we'll take a break. And I can't remember if any lyrics come up before we're going to take this next break or not, but let's find out. Were you able to hear the bass in the background, the way it moved with the music? That was fucking great. The lyrics here are, "And the great river of our blood roars in protest." So people are dying because of all these fucking shitty decisions we're making. And the blood flowing and all this death is the protest. But the tributaries branching off from this river of blood in protest, tributaries swallowed by the grim god of silence. So even though things are branching out, trying to make change, trying to affect, trying to let people know what's going on, the god of silence, the grim god of silence, is stopping it. So people are not talking. They see what's going on. They see the effects, but they're not saying shit, either because they're scared or maybe because it's not affecting them. That's something that's happening somewhere else. So I don't give a fuck. It's not my problem. The next parts I want to talk about in the music are, right after I click this, it's going to go into this part where you can really hear the bass giving you that nice rumbling foundation to the song, and you can hear it adding to this crescendo that's building. And then about 5 to 10 seconds after that, you can hear, at least to me, it sounds like the guitar tone changes into a deeper, more sinister tone. It's real subtle, but I could be imagining it, but I feel like something changed there with the guitar. And then we'll let it go for about a minute because there's some more things I want to talk about in a part that's coming up after what I just said. So let's listen for about a minute and 10 seconds here. Back it up a little bit because I want to talk about this group of lyrics, and I didn't pay attention there, and I was just getting into the music, and I didn't realize the second part of lyric, or the last group of lyrics was coming in there, and I want to talk about some things that the instruments are doing too in the next part. But you could really feel the bass there. Oh, I keep saying really. You could feel the bass there, and how it added to just that real rumbling, sinister sound. And this part came after they mentioned the God of Silence twice, so maybe that sinister change in the guitar is the people's lack of speaking up being represented in the music. Let's talk about the lyrics. Relentlessly we wove the skeins. I had to look up skeins, and skeins are a yarn or thread that's wound into like a reel or a ball so you can use it in a more efficient manner. Relentlessly we wove the skeins, heedless of our doom. So we weren't paying any attention to what was coming. This bad fate that we're hurtling towards, that we created because of all of our bullshit, we're just not paying attention to it. Lashing to our lives the promise of failure. So lashing is kind of like tying to. So to our own lives, we're tying this promise of failure because of all the things we've done and all the past we've ignored and all this bullshit that we're spewing out, and we're not paying attention to what we're hurtling to. We are setting ourselves up for failure. We're creating a terrible fate that is of our own design. I'm going to back it up so we can get the first part of these lyrics, but pay attention to the bass part that comes up in about 15 seconds. It's a very interesting part that adds to this deep tone in the song. Again, I don't have the best words to describe things, but I'm going to let the music speak for itself. And about a minute into us listening, really listen to the flow and the movement of the guitar. So I'm going to let this go for about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, but feel the way the guitar ebbs and flows and pushes and pulls. It's an interesting dynamic. And you have the bass rumbling underneath that. You have the drums with that really sharp, crisp snare. Oh, I said really again. Pounding away. And these little interesting fills that help with the transitions between this movement. It's extremely complex and a pleasure to listen to. Years ago, I would have heard this and said, it's just a bunch of fucking noise. But by making this channel, I'm hearing things in music, and more interesting music than I ever would have even tried to dive into before. minute left in the song. I'll let the last minute write itself out, and we'll hear the last bit of lyrics there too. What went by was, and I will build within myself a monument of flagellation. So internalizing the desire to torture oneself or feel pain, that's what flagellation is, like self-whipping. But building within themselves a monument to it, they're torturing themselves inward. They're feeling the pain and causing themselves pain purposefully to build this just monument. Because we mentioned monument at the very beginning, that there remains no monuments to our vanity, no cenotaphs to subsume glory. So that is being replaced by this internal monument to pain and maybe self-pity, something along those lines. And this last part of the song here, right before the song ends, about 25-30 seconds before it ends, we get our last little bit of lyrics here. And the way that the drums and guitar follow the syllables of the very last word, I think, are very important. It's almost just like a fucking stabbing. But I'm going to let the rest of the song ride out, and I hope you could hear that movement and flow in the guitar in the last part we listened to, how intricate it was. And I mean, it gives me chills. I probably had a goofy smile on my face, but that's okay. I'm a goofy fucker anyway. Let's listen to the last minute of the song, talk about these last little bit of lyrics, and then we'll call it a day. Couldn't find what that last little bit of lyrics or word or two was. I just couldn't find anything on it, and I listened several times and I couldn't make it out. So if anybody knows what it is, please let me know. Our last couple lines were, I will silence my tongue and sacrifice myself to the empty vault of the firmament. And the firmament is the last word when they really stab at each syllable in that word with the music. So instead of speaking up, they're just going to shut the fuck up and not say anything and sacrifice themselves to the empty vault of the firmament. And firmament would be the sky or heaven. So they're giving themselves to a place that is empty because no one's there. It doesn't exist, or it's pointless. So I'm going to keep quiet. I'm not going to do shit. I'm going to just give myself over to nothing. A pointless cause, a pointless fate that was created by us. We fashioned it and brought about this pointless end to our lives, and all this blood and sacrifice is just, there's no reason for it. That's what I'm getting from the song, the tyranny of thought. We're thinking ourselves into a destiny that we're creating for ourselves that is not only pointless but deadly in the end. That's my take on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, I love diving into these songs. This has been a great pleasure in my life to bring this back and do this. So make sure you listen to some new stuff. Don't just listen to the same old shit. Branch out. Again, you don't have to like it, but you should experience it. Things that make you uncomfortable are good. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let anyone tell you what the fuck to listen to either. And I don't talk on here about whether I am going to continue to listen to a song or it's my jam or it's something that I'm going to follow up with. Sometimes I'll say I'm going to dive into a band's catalog because I'm finding it extremely interesting and fun to do. It's not important that I come on here and say, I don't like this or I don't like that. Fuck that. Get the music out there and let people decide for themselves. Share this music with other people. Make sure you give those thumbs up. Hit that like button so we can get these videos to show up higher in searches so bands can get the exposure that they need. Whether you think it's good art or not, make sure you hit that thumbs up, because if you don't like it, doesn't mean somebody else won't like it. They may find this and it may make a change in their life. So hit the thumbs up. And forgive my stumbling over words. That's going to happen quite a bit. And I'm not going to edit it out. Fuck that. I'm a human being. Shit gets fucked up. Make sure you hit that little ding 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 bell thing so it'll let you know when a new video is out also. I'm enjoying all of your feedback, and I'm shocked that half of the songs that I've done so far, which is not a big list, I have received feedback from the actual artists themselves telling me what the song was about or thanking me for just doing the video, even if they think I'm a raging moron. It doesn't matter. Just having the artists watch the video and know that someone is trying to interpret their art and their music and get the word out there. Because if you look at the videos, I mean, I don't have a video that's more than a couple hundred views at best, and those are ones that have been out for 6 or 7 months. And I only have like 81 subscribers. And the fact that these artists are seeing these videos is fucking amazing. And that is what really matters, is getting the art out there and making connections with people. I will do my best to get these videos out as often as possible. They do take time, but it's time well spent. I will see you soon. Make sure you do all that shit that I always say. I love every one of you. I'm out.